Remember, if you buy this book, you will help us all live happily ever after.
I play a producer trying to get this particular film or project off the ground. But I very stupidly left some of the stuff in the cab. So I'm panicking because I have my my investor with me. And of course I can't show him the project. But then thankfully, my leading man, Sherlock Holmes.
Hello. Hello, Sherlock.
They find the missing pieces and hand them back to me, and then that's kind of the end of the film.
Are you learning your lines as you go?
Oh, could you imagine having to learn all this?
I know. Did you write all this, darling? Is this all scripted by you?
But how exciting to be in an episode of Sherlock Holmes, don't you think?
I think that's wonderful.
It's not quite Benedict Cumberbatch, but we'll manage. Having done the show in Soho for so many years at Molly Moggs, I think you really appreciate that sort of coming away from it.
Of course, you were at Molly's for a long time, though, weren't you? How many years?
15 years.
15 years, gosh.
Man and boy. And
yes, man and boy and lady.
Yeah, and lady.
Yeah. And you always went by, your name was Jeff still, wasn't it?
Well, the thing is, I'd already been in the business 20 years before that.
Yes.
So to come into doing a cabaret show in whatever costume you're wearing and then change your name,
yes,
it seemed like a really daft thing to do.
Yes, a bit like Dave Lynn.
Well,
same story.
Yeah,
same story.
Yes.
That was where I started with a show called the Kinky Hanky Panky Show, because when I came out of singing with bands, the obvious thing for me to do at the time was to go into cabaret, and at the time on our circuit, really there weren't really any male singers to speak of, and it was quite a frightening thing really, to the thought of going into drag. So I kind of did the Kinky Hanky Panky Show was kind of half drag, half sort of singer.
And where did the show go on? Where did the show?
The very first one that I did was, who very bravely booked me, was the Salmon and Compasses in Islington. I was sort of having a bit of trouble getting my head around the idea of going into drag properly, and then somebody said to me, well, you know, you've got to think about it really. You're from an acting background, you're a performer anyway. Does it really matter what costume you're wearing?
Yes.
Think of it like Boy George or Adamant or something like that.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, I know it probably seems odd to think that an openly sort of out gay guy would be worried about drag, and it kind of wasn't that. It just didn't feel comfortable. It didn't feel right.
Yes.
As stupid as that sounds now, after all these years, something that I'd learned from working on the straight venues was that I do come on in character, do one song as that character, strip down to being a man again, and then come back up again. And then what I used to do is get the people in the audience to help me with the costumes. So I'd say, hold that, we did that zip up for me. Go out into the audience, and I think that was kind of what made it unusual at the time for what it was. So I'm going to miss Molly Moggs. I mean, it's so funny. I sort of spent a third of my life there. You know, I'm going to miss
the place quite
the building. I'm going to miss the ghosts, and I'm going to miss, you know, everything that goes with it. But I suppose I'll miss the people, because you kind of get used to seeing the same people, and you get to know people. And you sort of, I'm going to miss that side of it. I think. I don't think I'm going to miss the performing, because there's a lot of other stuff going on, so that covers it. You know, I mean, if I just stopped dead and didn't do anything else, I probably would miss it a lot.